Hello, and in today's video we are doing an EFL Championship 2023 to 24 predictions for match week number 1 of the new campaign. That's right, back on the channel with score predictions for the new season that is nearly upon us on the Friday Night Football. It is, of course, at Hillsborough between the Owls and the Saints. Sheffield Wednesday kick off the Championship season against the recently relegated Southampton. Now, I bet Southampton fans probably wouldn't have been expecting to start their season on a Friday night under the lights at Hillsborough. But yes, that is how bad their season was under the multiple managers of Ralph Hasenhüttl, Nathan Jones, who absolutely stinked it out in the Premier League, and of course, for a short spell in charge, Ruben Selles. So, yeah, not a good season for Southampton. Sheffield Wednesday, though, much better season for them, and ultimately, that was just one of the most iconic Championship comebacks of all time. That 4-0 deficit to Peterborough, and they come back absolute limbs at the last minute, and what a story as well, because not just that in the semi-final, but also the final, that late goal against Barnsley in the final, and of course it's their talisman, Josh Windass. Now, this is obviously a new season, so as well as my predictions, I will be playing Gaffer.io Championship Fantasy Football this year, so do join my mini league, because to join, you type into Google Gaffer, so that's GAFFR.io, and just basically go to where it says Championship 23 to 24, and then what you do is you make a team by looking at the column where it's got the up and the down arrow, and you've got a budget. I think it's, again, just as with Fantasy Premier League, of 100 million, but you have to put in different players, and ultimately the scoring is a bit different to FPL. For instance, you get points for like first half clean sheets and second half clean sheets, and also you tend to get more points for defenders because of that. But there's also additional things. So, like for instance, the chips or the boosts, they're not like with FPL or things like triple captain and bench boost. They're things, they have something called emergency captain, and then obviously vice captain. So there's a triple, which is kind of similar to triple captain, but the difference is with the vice captain, that gets 1.5 times as many points. Even if the captain does play, they get 1.5 times as many points. The only time that the emergency captain comes into play is if your captain doesn't play. But yeah, so defense is a big thing because of those, as I talked about. Ultimately, big at the back is a good way to go, and it's quite weird to see. Like, we're talking about Southampton, players like James Ward-Prowse, whether or not he'll stay at Southampton. There's rumours of him going to West Ham, but he's priced at 11 million in the game. Now, obviously in FPL, if you'd have seen that, you'd have been very shocked. So a bit of getting to adjust really, but it's a good game. I've played it a couple seasons now. So let me just quickly recap you people on what my current season history is on the Gaffer.io Championship game. So my first season, as I say, I've played it for a couple seasons now, was in the 20 to 21 season. And my final rank there was pretty decent, to be honest. Top 700 in the world, 647th. Then in the 21-22 season, my final rank was 1.8k. And then, of course, last season, we slightly improved on that overall rank. We finished 1.0k in the 2022-23 season. So we're hoping to once again get in that top 1k. Ideally, top 500 would be really good, but it's not easy. As I say, it's quite complicated with the amount of chips that there are. Like, you've got things like midfield dynamos and park the bus. I don't know as much about it, but I just kind of do it for the fun of it, especially because Watford are in it, and the way things are going seem to be likely to stay in it. But optimism is everything. So let's get into our lineup for the start of the season for Gaffer, and then we'll smash into those game week 1 predictions. And don't forget, the scoring system for the predictions is 3 points for the correct result. Then it's 5 points if you get the correct result and the goal difference. So if you said a 2-1 win to Sheffield Wednesday and they won 1-0, then you get yourself 5 points there. Just not quite the correct scoreline, because the correct scoreline is 7 points. So 3, 5, 7. That's how we're doing the scoring system. So get your score predictions in the comment section below as I go through each game. But then let's quickly tell you my team name for the fantasy game. It is Healy's on fire, because at his time in Toulouse, of course, Rhys Healey, that was the chant that he was basically given as one of the few British players playing for Toulouse. And he scored goals for them. Yes, he's a bit injury prone, and he did actually get a pretty nasty ACL injury. And I get, like, it's not massive. It's the French second division. He's not going to be amazing. But whenever a new striker comes in or a new attacker, I always get excited and hope they're just the next Odion Ighalo or Gerard Deulofeu or Roberto Pereira. But we'll have to see. But yeah, Healy's on fire as the team name. In goal, I've gone with Dieng. Dieng of Middlesbrough moved there this summer, I think, to that club. I think he was actually at QPR before, but he's a very, very good goalkeeper. And as you'll see here, a home match to Millwall is not a perfect start, but I just think for a 4.5, he's a bargain price. He's going to hopefully do well, plenty of save points. Then I've got a back five. I was talking about big at the back, and I've gone for it. So I've got Pring to start off with from Bristol City. Now, he's playing Preston, so hopefully a clean sheet there. I mean, Bristol City weren't great last season, I'll admit, and they'll probably struggle again this season, but I think Pring is quite just good of a option when you think there's not many options generally. Then Townsend is also one we've gone for from West Bromwich Albion. I think it's Connor Townsend. It might even be Chris Townsend. No, I'm pretty sure it's Connor. But he's an attacking fullback, and he is quite pricey, to be honest, at 6.5, but I think he's worth the price. Then we've also got another selection of Ki-Jana Hoover. You might remember him from his time at Wolves. He's barely featured, to be honest. So he's signed for Stoke City, and they've got a juicy home fixture against Rotherham. So hoping for a clean sheet there. I mean, it won't be easy for a clean sheet for Townsend, but he's got that attacking upside to counter it. And then I've got the new boy, and I just can't help myself. I'm going to be going to the game on Saturday, QPR at home to start the season, and we've signed Jamal Lewis from Newcastle, which I'm really excited about. I know he has been frozen out there. You know, he's a quality player. He was good in his time at Norwich, but I think he's so attacking, and that's why I've gone for him. We're bound to concede, you know, that for opening day. We always seem to. We're just so bad in terms of conceding goals, but I'm just going to go for it because why not? Jamal Lewis, hopefully a clean sheet against QPR. And then Manning, we've gone for the new boy, Ryan Manning, after he signed from Swansea to Southampton. Of course, the link there, Russell Martin for Southampton, makes sense. And Manning did do really well in the Championship game, I seem to remember, last season. So, makes sense, that one. Hopefully Wednesday don't score in that game. Then midfield, I've gone with a 3 in midfield of Riley McGree, who was pretty good for Middlesbrough last season. I mentioned Middlesbrough, obviously they're facing Millwall, so hopefully he'll do well there. Then I've got Teller for Southampton. Now, this is a bit up in the air. He might still join Burnley, but Southampton will try everything they can to keep him. And we saw how good he was for Burnley last season, Nathan Teller. So away to Sheffield Wednesday to start the season, good fixture. I'm going for Nathan Teller. And then we've got Jack Clark for Sunderland, who was really such a good player for them last season. Such an amazing season. They didn't expect to go for that playoff place, but he was a big reason for it, and a nice juicy home fixture against newly promoted Ipswich. Ipswich I think will do quite well, to be honest. They could be the next Sunderland possibly if they push for those playoffs, but I honestly think that they're going to be favourable from the get-go. Hopefully a nice game there for Clark. And then the front two, I've got him as part of my team name. I can't not have him. Yes, Rhys Healey is in there. Now, I don't actually know if he'll start, to be honest, but as I say, I just like the team name and I like the vibes. Let's see if he does start, but it could well be Vakun Bio that gets the nod on Saturday against QPR because he has played pre-season a bit more. And then Adam Armstrong is also there. He's my captain for Southampton. Again, he could leave, but I think he's likely to stay. And he's proven at this level, right? He did it for time and time again for Blackburn Rovers. So, captaincy, he's on there for that game against the Owls. And then vice-captain is Clark against Ipswich, and then emergency captain McGree. The bench is pretty weak, but I don't really care at this point. I've got Hazard. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but he's a goalkeeper, maybe a backup for Plymouth. Then I've got Windass, first bench. Now, I think Windass will do well this season. Southampton's not an easy fixture, though, And I have actually got Manning in this game, so I'm back in the clean sheet, but he'll be good down the line for Sheffield Wednesday. Then I've got Ozan Tufan, the former Watford player, of course. He did quite well for for Hull City. He's got Norwich on the opening day, not an easy fixture in a way. I mean, they weren't great Norwich last year, but I'd rather that my other midfielders that I've got. But yeah, he did take penalties. He looked quite good at points last season, so I think he'd be a good budget option. And then I've got last on bench, again, another dead rubber from Plymouth Argyle. I think it's Wayne. He's third on bench at home to Huddersfield, so it doesn't really matter that. So that's what we're going for. Hope you have enjoyed my little team preview there. And as I say, if you want to have a go at picking a team, go to the 2 up and down arrows, make the transfers, and then where you go, scroll across, and there's a to 3 lines and 1, 2, 3. If you click on that symbol, then you can scroll down. It says manage leagues, and then go to join a league. And there's where it says to write in a join code. And I can tell you very much now that the join code for my mini league, which is called Yellow Armies Alliance, of course on X I'm called FPL Yellow Army, but the code is the following. I know it's a bit long, but just bear with me as I go through this. Small lowercase p, capital M, lowercase s, capital Q, lowercase a, capital F, capital J, lowercase c, 2, capital E, lowercase e, capital C, capital S, capital Z, lowercase a, lowercase g, lowercase n, capital O, lowercase u, lowercase j, lowercase f, and capital A. I know that's a lot to take in, but if you wrote that down, then write that in the join code, and you should be able to join. If you do play a bit of that, then get on it. But let's get into my week 1 predictions. Sheffield Wednesday, Southampton. I mentioned the amazing playoff final win. Now, of course, I think this will be a really tricky way for them to start the season, because Southampton, they're going to be motivated and they're going to really go for it. We'll have to just see what happens. But I think Southampton on this opening night will get the victory in Russell Martin's first game. I'm going to say that Xisco Munoz, the former Watford manager, has a losing start. But I think hopefully he should do enough, because I really like the guy and I want him to stay up. But just hopefully not at the cost of beating Watford, because that would just be too painful later on in the season. But I'll say Sheffield Wednesday 0, Southampton 2. And goal scorers on the night, I will predict it will be Nathan Tella and Adam Armstrong. Yeah, okay, I might have those players in my team, but we don't need to talk about it. Moving on to the Saturday games, Blackburn, West Brom. I think this will be a fascinating one because, two teams that were flirting with playoff places last season didn't quite get in there ultimately. Blackburn looked like they were going to definitely get there and ultimately just missed out. Millwall were in the playoff places for so long. Then they faced Blackburn on the final day, and somehow Millwall's kind of surrendered a fairly comfortable lead, and it ended up being a draw, but neither side got in the playoffs. West Brom as well had a bit of a late kind of push to get to the playoffs, but they didn't quite have enough, so they finished outside it. So, yeah, look, ultimately, West Brom, they'll fancy their chances to start the season well. Blackburn as well, they're a decent side, so it's just whether or not they can recover without their main man, really. It's a massive loss when you think about how good Brereton Diaz was for previous seasons. But I think I'll back Blackburn still with the home advantage. Blackburn 2, West Bromwich Albion 1. Goal scorer for West Brom will be Connor Townsend, but for Blackburn, I'll say it will be, I don't even know who they play, so let's just go for it. Just random players, but 2-1 to Blackburn. Then it's Bristol City Preston. Now I think this will be a very, very comfortable Bristol City win. And I'll say Bristol City 2, Preston North End 0. And I'd like a cheeky goal for Pring. That would be good. Middlesbrough Millwall. I think Middlesbrough will get the dub here. I think they were so unlucky to not get automatic last season, and definitely to not get into at least the playoff final. I thought they would have beaten Coventry, but Coventry were massive underdogs. They did really well, and I just felt for them losing that final to Luton. I didn't think they deserved it too much because they looked like they got back into it. They played the better in the second half, and I thought they'd go on and win it in extra time. And they actually nearly lost it in extra time with that disallowed goal. But then to go out and lose it on penalties, just such a lottery. So you feel for Coventry, really. And now Gyökeres has left. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting one. But going back to Middlesbrough, yeah, interesting. I think they will have another good season. great manager in Michael Carrick, and Millwall, they did do well. They nearly got the playoffs, but not quite. So I think ultimately Middlesbrough will get the dub. 2-0 to Middlesbrough, even without the legend for them, Cameron Archer. Now Norwich against Hull. I'm still going to back a Norwich win. I think although Norwich had problems last season, I think they've had a really good window, and I think they're going to do a bit better this year. But whether it's enough to get playoffs, we'll have to wait and see. Norwich City 2, Hull City 1. Then we've got Plymouth, Argyle, Huddersfield. Now, Huddersfield did scrap towards the end of last season down near the bottom of the table. Obviously, Neil Warnock came in, worked his magic. It's what he does. He always keeps teams up, or so it seems. Plymouth, obviously promoted last season, were really good, the Pilgrims, and you just got to give them full credit for such a great season. But I still back Huddersfield on this one. Plymouth 0, Huddersfield 1. Then Stoke City, Rotherham United. I think Stoke under Alex Neil, I think Stoke will do better this year, but I just feel like they're a stagnating club at the moment. Rotherham United, though, I fancy them to have a bit of a stinker of a season because I think they're always float with relegation, and they have lost a big player for them, Ogbene. Stoke City, on the other hand, have made some good signings. The likes of, I was really impressed when I saw it. They're the left back from Sheffield United. I think it's called, I can't even remember what it is now, but he's a really good player. And also, I think they signed another one. So, yeah, Stoke win this fairly comfortably, I think. 2-0 for Stoke. Then we've got Swansea, Birmingham. I'm going for a thriller here. I think both defences are pretty leaky. Joel Pirou might now be staying at Swansea, which is a huge boost for Swansea. But Birmingham, obviously, they've made interesting signings. They've let go of Bellingham. That is, of course, Joe Bellingham. He's gone to Sunderland. So, yeah, it's been interesting for Birmingham. But they've made also some nice signings like Tyler Roberts. So I think Birmingham actually will get a point here, but it will be a thriller. Swansea 3, Birmingham 3. Then it's Watford QPR. Look, at the end of the day, I'll be at Vicarage Road on Saturday doing a matchday vlog as per usual. Back to the start of the season. I just want to start the season on a good footing. I said that last year, and we did do that well against a pretty sticky opponent in Sheffield United, and yet the season was much more to be desired. So it can show you that maybe a false start is not always, looks can be deceiving, but I'm hoping that we just show the passion under Ismail, show an identity, and just give the guy time, Pozzo, please. I know we say every year, and every year he rips up the rule book, but for once, right? Just have a bit of faith. Because you gotta have faith, the faith. And, we could build something here. We really could build something special. He's a good manager. In his time at Barnsley, he was very impressive. The window has been a bit underwhelming, to be honest. But, some of the moves have been expected. Like, we've got rid of a lot of dead wood, like Cathcart and Kabasele. And we've let go of players like Hungbo. I was quite upset, to be honest, to see us leave out Joao Ferreira. He's going as well on loan to Udinese. He was really good I thought, at points last season. I mean, we let go of Wolves Troost-Ekong. It's been a bit of an end of an era, really, clear out for Watford. But in terms of incomings, Tom Ince is a good signing. But outside of that, I don't love it. Like, Healy, I'm getting gassed about him, but he might not be brilliant. And then you look at other players like, okay, this guy that's come in, Georgian international, I think he's got a really long name, but he's called Giorgio or something. Fair enough, this Chakched Sadzi guy, he might be decent, but I don't know how to say his name, and we'll just have to wait and see how he gets on. So it's just a bit of a wait and see, really. But yeah, Imran Louza, number 10, that's my shirt number this season, and I'm hoping he has a good campaign. He needs to stay because he's so key to that midfield. But in terms of our predicted lineup, I mean, I don't know exactly who we're going to go for to start the season, because we did have that final pre-season game against Peterborough. We won 3-0, good win, but it was behind closed doors, so we didn't quite know the full lineup. But I would imagine Bachmann, with the new captaincy given to him, he will start in goal. And then at left back, I'd like to see us debut for Jamal Lewis. I think hopefully he will be fit and firing. If not, we could maybe see someone else like Morris play there. Then centre-backs, it just picks itself, really. Wesley Hoot and Ryan Porteous were very solid at points. Even though last year was a bit defensively all over the place, they at least were a bit better once they came in January. So those two. And then I would imagine we have starting Ryan Andrews, because we've just let go of Ferreira. Although we could maybe see someone else play there, like, I don't know, Ngakia, but I just don't think Ngakia is going to get favoured for minutes, unfortunately for him. In the midfield, I'd love to see Imran Louza there in that kind of right centre mid. And then maybe we see left centre mid Ismail Kone, because I think he was really quite good at points last season. I just want to see a bit more consistent minutes for him. Consistent minutes is what he had, but just consistent performances, because he had flashes, I think. Kayembe could play, possibly, but I just don't know. Maybe I prefer Kone, because he does offer us something there. And Asprilla, I'd like to see him start, maybe, in his kind of a cam position, because at times when he was playing that position last season, he just lit up the stage. Obviously, he's still young, still got time to grow, but he's already grown a lot, and he's looking really good. And then at the left mid position, we know he's going to be Ken Sema. He's the first name on the team sheet every week. Very much, I think, could have been a captaincy shout along with Porteous, but at the end of the day, Ken is just King Ken, and he's bringing that Kenergy, right? Barbie film only just came out, but there's only one King Ken, and this guy is just so good for the Championship. Gets the byline, puts in the crosses, and is just an assist machine. And then, of course, up front, it'll probably be Bayo, but I'd love to see Healy get his debut if he's got what it takes to score goals in this division. And then on the right, it's probably between, maybe we could play Asprilla there, to be fair, but it might be Mateus Martins after he's been playing some games in pre-season. It's just a bit of an unknown, really, so we'll have to see who plays the minutes, but let's work out when we get there. I'm going to predict a Watford win, of course I am, but I think we are going to concede, because we just always do, right? So I'll say a classic 2-1 nervy Watford win, with goals from Jamal Lewis, a QPR goal scored by, I don't even know who plays them these days. We shall say, it's a tricky one. Let me just Google that for you people quickly, so I can just nail the goal scorer for QPR, because I genuinely have not kept up with their current team. Okay, we'll go for QPR's goal scorer then to be Lyndon Dykes. But then the second goal for Watford comes from the debut man. Of course, Healy's on fire. Reece Healy with the second. If he doesn't play, which is a possibility, then I'll say the winner, Imran Louza. We mentioned in the number 10 shirt. Come on, mate. I love you, Imran. What a baller. Now, moving on to the Sunday fixtures. Leicester-Coventry. Obviously, don't think many people would have said Leicester would be in the Championship this year, but they were pretty poor last year defensively. I'm going to say Leicester City to beat this game 2-0 over Coventry. Leeds United Cardiff. I'm going to go 1-0 to Leeds. It's going to be cagey, I think. Then we've got Sunderland Ipswich to wrap up match week 1. And I'm going for Sunderland win 3-1 on the day to the Black Cats. Hope you have enjoyed this video, and I shall see you in a future one. Bye-bye.